Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage 23-065. This is a key and lever cylinder is what it is. Specifically for key and levers, this will be for their ND series lock. I know it's a lever because the tailpiece is vertical. Tailpieces on pin tumbler cylinders for knobs, those are flat. Okay, well, it's a lever, which means it's vertical, because if you recall, the tailpiece has to be horizontal, but lever cylinders are laying on their side, so it comes back as horizontal. You put back a cylinder, you know, when I remember in the early 1990s when ADA was passed, now everyone, literally overnight it seemed, lever locks were what everyone was buying. It was Plymouths on Tuesday, and it was all Elans on, or Flair on Wednesday. It flipped overnight. And I remember keying these locks the first time, these lever locks, I'm like, I've got to turn the key to get it all put on, and then the key goes back to vertical, but now I can't take my key out because the key is 90 degree the wrong orientation. And I realized, oh, it's the orientation of the tailpiece. Anyway, this is a 230365. This is an Everest. This is in a C125 keyway. You'll know Everest from the symbol that's on the face of the plug, which is meant to look like a mountain, maybe Mount Everest. And that's how you'll know that. This is an Everest. Everest key blanks certainly look like the original Schlage bow. It certainly takes from that. It will have the keyway stamped on it. It will have this mountain logo on it as well. The bow will be physically larger. This is 6-pin by standard. I don't know if they do a 5-pin Everest. I'm going to say that they do not. Now, what makes Everest different than the classic keyways is the side bit milling and what is really called the check pin. Inside of this cylinder, there is an item called the check pin. That check pin is now, at this time, sitting down inside of the shell, which is what will, along with the pins, the bottom pins and the driver pins, prevent that from moving. The check pin represents a second shear line that has to be satisfied. So when you insert the key into the cylinder, the cuts on the key are going to satisfy the shear line between the cylinder plug and this area here, which is called the Bible. However, the side bit milling on the side is what is going to allow you to lift the check pin. Just keep your eyes on that little area there. When I pull that key out, that check pin pops back out, or pops down. Okay. When the right key is in, that check pin will be lifted, allowing you to rotate. So now you've got two shear lines to satisfy. Schlage is definitely phasing into the Everest keyways. You know, they're classic keyways: C, E, C, E, F, E, F, G, F, G. Those classic 7 keyways. Those are going to be available for, you know, time ever after, most likely, because you'll have installations. I've got a large client that about twice a year orders a whole mess of material, and I think it's all FG. These keyways aren't going anywhere, but Schlage wants to continue to protect their their product. So evolving their keyways is how cylinder manufacturers do that, especially high security cylinder manufacturers, of which Schlage is one of them, who has a side bit milling principle under the Primus name. They have it's a similar concept where there's some cutting that's occurring here, but there's more than one check pin. There are finger pins, and there are 5 of them. In my opinion, if you have the choice to use the classic keyways or an Everest, I would go with the Everest every time. They're not protected or restricted, at least in this open C family. They are reasonably easily accessible, but you're not going to walk into the local cobbler or, you know, home improvement superstore and get copies of your key. And if you're looking to prevent that, well, then you want the Everest. If you need to have extra copies made, you might want to align yourself with a locksmith who will keep them on hand, like someone like us, is the bottom line. That check pin, in my opinion, substantially increases the pick resistance of the lock, absolutely and totally increases that pick resistance. And there are countless videos online of people getting into cylinders quick, fast, and in a hurry. Won't be so quick with this. So I would suggest that you move to an Everest if you are thinking about it. So 626 is the finish on the plug. You'll do that in 04, which is satin brass, or 26D satin chrome. They probably will do their Venetian color. I'm not really sure what other colors on the plug they'll do. They might only do those two finishes, which is traditionally what they're available in. So let's switch now to the screen view and let's take a closer look at some supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at some photographs that we have. It's a 23065. It's a 6-pin. It's an Everest. 626 is the finish, which is just the plug, and it's a C125 keyway. Okay. That's everything that you get. C125. Close-up of the cylinder. Side view. Front side view showing the Everest logo. Up close of the C125 keyway. Back side view. You can only put this tailpiece in either vertical. It has a bird's mouth prep in either end, but it's going to come back vertical every time. I have taken tailpieces like this and cut my own bird's mouth so I could use it in a different lock that would take a tailpiece turned on its side. And then, of course, the keys themselves, C125, and then Everest. Okay. Now, to better understand this lock, there's not much here in the way of extended description. Let's click on the link here to the manufacturer's page. And from this page, we're going to be able to review not only all of the Schlage products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Let me zoom out so you can get an idea of what that looks like. So there's a tremendous amount of information here. Let's click on the full product catalog. Then from there, let's take our part number 23-065. Let's copy that. And then when this loads, we'll do a find function on the keyboard. (23-0365). And now we're on the page in the catalog about cylinders, conventional cylinders. And that matches up right here. A 6-pin, standard pin and tumbler cylinder for the ND series is what that is. So what you do is you'll specify 23-065 and then the keyway. When someone calls out C125, it's going to be an Everest. Okay, so that's how you'll do that. Different platforms of locks are listed here. SL cylinders, a very different approach to the construction of tumblers and how they work. Primus, UL437, which is high security, which is for drill, pick, attack resistance. Primus XP, Primus XP SL, XP with a UL437. UL437 is a Underwriters Laboratory document that's published that talks about all of the criteria by which a cylinder needs to successfully pass through in order to have the UL mark placed on it. If you see a cylinder that has UL on the cylinder plug, it represents the highest graded caliber product when it comes to security in terms of resistance, as I said earlier, attack, picking, impressioning, drilling, sawing, hammering, wrenching, every sort of physical attack, non-destructive attack as well. So that's the 23-0365, and that's where you're going to see that. Now, let's look at, on this same page, I have a couple of links to the Everest Manual. Here's the Schlage Everest Manual from 2014. It's the most current document. You can go through these 20 pages, and I won't do that here and now, but I will just scroll until I see the check pin. And here's a reference to the check pin here. This little prep here in this undercut groove is what's going to lift the check pin. And there it is. There's the anatomy of the cylinder. That gets hooked up right on this plateau here, and that allows it to suck the pin up into the plug so that you can continue on your merry way, is the bottom line. Let's take a look and see if we can scroll down and through and find a multiplex structure of the keyways. And this is the depth and spacing data. Tells you everything about the cuts of the key, other information as it pertains to the pins that you'll use, the springs, even the code card that you'll put into your Blitz machine if you have a HPC Blitz. You can punch these on a ProLock Blue Punch. Okay, here is our multiplex structure of the C family. By the way, this is the 18th page. Up in the beginning of the catalog, they talk about the history of Everest. So that's a neat little read there. Let's go to page 18. We're doing C125. So down here, think of your C, E, E, F, G, F, G, E, F, F keyways. That's what's down here. So this client wanted a C125. There you go. So this C125 participates in this multiplex family. The C120 is not a cylinder, it's a key blank. It's a multi-section blank, which means the C125, 24, and 23 will all be passed by the C120. Why would you need that? Well, if you had an installation that you exceeded the amount of theoretical change keys and you needed to switch to a different keyway to accomplish the quantity of changes necessary, you could use a multi-section blank as a, you know, as a master key, a grandmaster key, as a engineer's key, you know, a specialty sort of master key. And as you go up the structure here, you've got other multi-section blanks and then the all-section blank. Okay. C145 is the most common, but any of these are permissible. There's no restriction on these. If you want something that's unusual, stay away from the C145. If you want something that's probably truly unusual, go with the C134. I don't know that I've seen that one. That is what would be called a simplex keyway because it doesn't participate in this multiplex structure. Well, actually, forgive me, it does. Yeah, it does, because this multi-section blank will pass it along with passing other keyways as well. What I meant to say was the C345 is a simplex, is a simplex keyway here because no multi-section blank operates it. With the exception of the all-section blank, it will operate that. So it can be used, but without the all-section blank, it would be considered a simplex keyway. You know what? I'm going to say that it's probably not technically a simplex keyway because there is the existence of a neutered key blank. Not neutered's the wrong word, but a perverted sort of keyway that will enter that. Okay. If it was me, I'd likely stay away from the C345, and I would go with a keyway that would have the maximum quantity of wards in the broaching. I like this because it has 2 wards on this side. This one has 2 wards. I might go with something that has multiple wards. Key blanks and their part numbers are on this last page with the S family, the Everest 29. So the Everest 29 is it's an evolution from the original Everest. Different keyways really are here. Same concept. You'll know that you have Everest or Everest 29 by the positioning of the logo on the plug, which is tipped to us right here. Our Everest has it on the opposite thumb side when you hold the key if you're right-handed. This will be on the same side as your thumb when you're holding the key as a right-handed person. Okay? Let's wrap up this video on camera. In conclusion, I'm quite partial when it comes to Schlage. It is most certainly because that is the line that I am, and I think many, many others in this industry are just most comfortable with. Schlage is ubiquitous. Their part numbers are, you know, ingrained in our memory, as compared to other manufacturers that it may be less so and that you have to look it up. But I'll also tell you that I'm partial to them objectively because their technical support is a phenomenal group of individuals, especially one person there, and to that person I say thank you very much. Always responsive. Subjectively, again, about being familiar with it, I would argue that the quality of the lock is well above average. And I would suggest Schlage in many instances. And I can think of a couple of instances where you wouldn't use Schlage, where every single % of the cost of the lock had to be shaved off. Also, if your key system wasn't compatible for some reason with Schlage, you had an existing key system that you couldn't get into a Schlage lock, which would only be because you're buying some cylinders here or you have to do something. There could be a cam, you know, here's an example. You're never going to run into it. But if you have a master ring existing keying system by P.F. Corbin, you're not going to use Schlage locks because they don't make anything compatible with master ring. But I also don't think you're going to bump into master ring very often. It exists. I know it's out there, and the Empire State Building was built full of it when it was built in 1920, 31, whenever it was. So you wouldn't use Schlage if you were physically prevented from using Schlage. But their quality of the product, the availability of the product, their technical support, the familiarity within the industry, you know, all signs point in that direction. Any questions on the Schlage 23-065 and a C125 keyway or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.